I want to start with a story and talk UConn's fifth national basketball men's title. Is that years ago when I worked at the other place, ESPN, it was LSU was facing Ohio State in the national championship game. And at the time, Urban Meyer was the coach of Florida, and ESPN hired him to be an analyst for the game. And so I had seen him up in Bristol, Connecticut, and I had known Urban a little bit before that, and so we talked. And I said, give me a thought on what you think happens in the game. The Ohio State game, he wasn't coaching Ohio State yet, and the LSU national championship game. And he laid it out perfectly. And he said LSU by 2 touchdowns. Ohio State will probably have a couple of big plays early. So I went on the air and basically said, because he was from Ohio, he didn't want to, put it out there for Buckeye fans, right? He didn't want to rub it in their face, but he had told me, don't attribute it to me, but LSU's going to win this game because they got just more running backs, more receivers. They have more of everything, and they're going to win this game by a couple of touchdowns. And it's something I've thought about a lot, is that the coaches, they're really good coaches. They know what they can do and know what they can't do, especially in college sports where the margins are wider. There are just talent gaps. And when I watch the body language of Dan Hurley, who's a pretty intense guy, the coach at UConn, when I listen to him pregame, during timeouts, halftime, and I watched his body language throughout, Dan Hurley knew he had the significantly better team last night. And as you watched it, it was obvious. Connecticut was too deep, way too big. In fact, San Diego State shot 32%. That's a good basketball team. That's a really good basketball team. Shot 32%. Too much depth, way too much size, and an excellent coach. And Dan Hurley knew it. He told you without telling you. Is that it is harder to predict in pro sports what's going to happen in games because the margins are tight. But when TCU plays Georgia, it doesn't take you more than about 4 or 5 series to figure out, maybe 2 or 3 series, who the better team is. You could tell 6 minutes into that game, the size was becoming a huge factor. And there's been this discussion, is UConn a blue blood or not? They're the definition of a blue blood. They've got 5 national titles in 24 years, but with 3 different coaches. Now, what does that tell you? Well, first of all, Kentucky in the last 24 years, a blue blood has 1 title. Kansas, the definition of a blue blood in 24 years, has 2 titles. UConn's got 5. Now, they've had some valleys where Kansas, Duke haven't, but the definition of a blue blood is that you're not tied to one great coach. Kansas State had 1 great football coach. Like, he leaves, they're not the same program. I grew up in Seattle, University of Washington. We won a national title with Don James. We've sputtered, peaks, valleys ever since. Chris Peterson could have been the next Don James, but he didn't stay long enough. The definition of a blue blood is it doesn't take one culture or one coach or one legend or one vision. You can bring in a variety of coaches and still dominate the sport. And this was about as physically dominating as a college basketball team I've ever seen. Now, is it an all-time great team? College basketball is different today than it was 20 years ago when you had Patrick Ewing coming back year after year. But this was a really good basketball team. I had picked Duke to win it all. And then after 2 games, I watched UConn and thought, and said on the air, yeah, UConn's the best team. And Dan Hurley had said in January, there was a quote in the internet I saw about a week ago. He said in early January, you better get us now because we're figuring this thing out and we're going to be really good. And man, were they against a really solid San Diego State team. Congrats. I had the pleasure to live there for a decade and watch Jim Calhoun beat the Dukes and the Carolinas and the Syracuse for years. It is the definition of a blue blood, regardless of the man leading it. By the way, women's basketball at UConn, there was a time in America, and it was a fairly sustained time for over 2 decades, that UConn had the best women's program and arguably the best men's program. And there was 1 year they also made the Fiesta Bowl in football. Considering the size of the state, a remarkable achievement. Congrats to the Huskies. So we know that Carolina moved up and moved a bunch of parts to get to the number 1 pick. So I thought about this after the show. I told the guys after the show, something's ruminating. I'm going to polish it and figure it out. But here it is. Carolina is going to take Bryce Young with the number 1 pick. And here's why. Okay, I'm going to lay it out there. Here's why. And let me give you this example. Buying a new house is hard, and it's usually expensive. You're going to pay more, right? And it's hard. The moving's hard. The kids boxing things up. You're paying for it's hard. So if you decide to move in life, you're generally not going to do it for something that's slightly better. It's going to be a significantly better school district, a significantly safer neighborhood, a significantly better view closer to the beach. You don't move just to move because something is just a little better. Generally, most people move because moving is hard and expensive and costly. You move because something is clearly, definitively an upgrade. Carolina was not going to give up their best wide receiver, 2 seconds and a first, for pretty good. C.J. Stroud's a pretty good prospect. Will Levis, nobody's sure. Anthony Richardson, huge gamble. You move up to get the most polished, most refined, most ready, and best self-awareness. That's why you move up. And arguably the most accurate, though C.J. Stroud's really good in that department. Why would you give up DJ Moore for good? Nobody considers C.J. Stroud the best high school quarterback ever, and for most of his college career, we didn't consider him the best college quarterback. Bryce Young, both boxes checked. Self-awareness, agility, pocket awareness, sees downfield, accuracy, winning, productive, everything. Yeah, you wish he was taller and heavier. So do I. So does everybody. But he's the best prospect. Does he have the highest ceiling? I don't know. He's the best prospect. But if Carolina, if you really think about it, thought Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud were identical, then why give up DJ Moore and just go to the number 2 pick with Houston? They called Houston. I was told that. If you don't think there's any separation from any of these quarterbacks, then just go up to number 3 or number 4. You don't go up to number 1. And to go to number 1, they had to give up their star receiver, which they didn't want to do. But you go to number 1 and give up extra things. It's more costly for a significantly better prospect. I don't know what the ceiling is. No question Anthony Richardson's a bigger, stronger athlete. No question Will Levis has a better arm. No question that C.J. Stroud is bigger. I'm not denying that. But you could get those guys at 2, 3, 4. Bryce Young, if you don't want to risk it, it's going to cost you more. That's what happens when you make the big move. And I thought about that last night. To make that kind of move, you're only doing it for one guy. Because you didn't have to move to number 1 to get Anthony Richardson or Will Levis, and you probably didn't have to move to number 1 to get C.J. Stroud. So I'm going to go, my gut feeling is Bryce Young. Now, I will say this. The betting boards think I'm wrong, and they think it's C.J. Stroud. I think if you wanted C.J. Stroud, or you saw very little difference with C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young, you wouldn't have given up DJ Moore. You would have given up a couple of seconds and a first and just gone to Houston. Because they called Arizona, they called Houston, they called Chicago. They wanted to control it because they wanted their guy. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.